Hi guys. I had every intention today of bringing a video for you on prosperity preachers, but that was just not in my heart to do that today. Because we've got something going on in America, and I think that it needs to be discussed. And I know that I have always kind of trying to put my channel with based upon murders, mysteries, scandals, scams. But I think I want to add a little bit of politics into it, maybe history, maybe not so much politics, maybe history, or current events. I'm not sure how I'm going to frame it in there, but I don't want to just. I'm not ready to start another channel because this one hasn't started to grow yet. So I'm going to just kind of tag it along in here. So you're going to get a hodgepodge of events and topics over here, but it'll basically be between murders, mysteries, scandals, scams, and a little bit of politics and history. So if you don't like that, don't like a lot of political talk, you're with the wrong person, because I love politics, but when politics was fun, it's no longer fun. But I got I've been getting questions and people sending me text messages, people that I know, people that I don't know, responding to me on Facebook and Twitter. And they've been asking me about different aspects of what's going on as far as Trump's impeachment and the insertion and everything that happened in regards to that horrible, I guess, I don't know what to call it, coup, or whether to call it just what a riot. It was pretty much a riot on Capitol Hill. And one of the things that I have had brought to my attention twice is that there seems to be a disconnect between the different races. So people of color are kind of looking at the police officers and they're voicing their concerns and opinions online. And I've got some friends who are white who feel like they're being targeted, that it's their fault, and they don't feel comfortable being on social media right now because they feel like they're being attacked. And I need to be, feel like I need to be the one to bring in a little bit of clarity on behalf of most Black folks and on behalf of most people of color. Now, I do not speak for all people of color. There's some people out there that are really strong about their feelings towards other races. That's not me. That's not what I represent. I represent those people who are not really paying attention to what color you are and basing things on how well you treat me. But we cannot ignore systematic racism. And I think that people don't understand the difference between someone being racist and a system being racist. So if Joe Blow, the cop, is not in his uniform and he goes up to someone and he calls them the N-word, that is Joe Blow, the cop. That's him. That is what he does. He is a racist. The problem comes in when he puts that uniform on. Then he represents the system. And we can't have people who have these biases in the system. And a lot of people who have been speaking out, me, myself, I guess you could say I'm part of a system. I'm part of the education system. However, me as a teacher, I want all of my students to be treated equally. I don't want one set of students to be suspended more than the other. I would never disrespect my students who look different than me. I try to thrive myself on being very, very cultural. So one year I had a student who was from India. I got immersed in her culture because her parents were immersed in the culture. That's their culture, and they were raising her that way. And so I wanted to have an understanding so that if something happened or transpired in the classroom, I knew, would know how to handle it. Because what I think may be offensive or what I think may be, not the right thing to do, it may be something different culturally. For example, roasting. In the African American culture, roasting is a sign of love. Now, sometimes we get carried away, but for the most part, it's a sign of love. Even some of my coworkers, we roast each other, and it's not a big deal. But I've had on several occasions listened to children who said that, oh, me and so and so were playing, and then Mrs. So and so wrote us up because she thought we were arguing, but we were playing. And now she said we can't use the word roasting in her classroom. Well, then that means you're taking out an aspect of their culture. That's just something that we do. We banter off of each other. Not that big of a deal. Now, like I said, sometimes it does get serious. But for the most part, we know when to kind of cut it off when we start to see people's feelings and emotions get involved in it. But like I said, as a teacher, I try to immerse myself into my students' cultures. I watch stuff and listen to stuff that as a almost 40-year-old woman, I have no business. A BTS, yes, I am a BTS stan, big time. Where did I get it from? My students. You know, a lot of the anime that I like a little bit more anime that has a more adult feel to it, but my students like anime that is a little bit more on their level, and that's fine. But it gives me a chance to get to know them and gives me a chance to bond with them on a different level. And that's a big issue that we have amongst the races. We feel like we can't talk to each other, like we can't ask each other questions, like we can't take the time to immerse ourselves. And now when I say immerse ourselves, I don't mean that you need to be trying to steal someone else's culture. We're not trying to Kardashian this thing. But what I'm saying is to get to know another culture so that you have a greater understanding of it. A lot of people, but I mean, I know this because I'm a history buff. A lot of people get, especially in Scotland, I can talk to them about, you know, a little bit of their heritage and a little bit of what they've been going through in England, with England or Great Britain, and, you know, talk about their mascot being a unicorn. I think unicorn while they're under Britain, and then the differences. So it's about getting to know different cultures. And the first thing that we do when we see someone different, which is what we have been taught by our mothers to avoid strangers, we fear them. If you see someone who doesn't look like you, you are automatically got to have that fear. You could say between a young white woman, you know, grasping her pocketbook when she sees a young black male come into a room or an area near her. You could say the same thing about Americans when they see someone from the Middle East go into a store dressed in their full hijab. Especially after 9/11, the racism was real when it came to that. People worried about getting bombed. Like, it's just ridiculous. People wonder, you know, well, why are you doing this? Why are you, you know, why they got to do this? Why do you do that? But they never seek out information. And so I'm glad that I have friends who, if they have a question about what's going on, and I had a lot of friends who do not look like me, who reached out during the George Floyd riots or protests and stuff. And they were like, I don't understand why they're burning down their buildings. I don't understand why they're doing this. And I simply told them, hey, they're burning it down because, number one, most of this belongs to corporate America who have insurance. The other reason is that sometimes, as Martin Luther King said, the voices of people often come out with riots. And then the looting is just the poor getting back what they feel like they're owed in some aspects. And a lot of times those people that went and they looted, they took that and they resold those merchandises and were able to make a quick buck. Now, granted, it's wrong, but I understand. You may not understand because you may never been in a situation where you had to hustle in order to get the things that you need. And so that brings me back to the systematic racism. The playing fields are not even. They are not even for people of color. I don't care how many times you say it, it's not even. Affirmative action really don't do nothing unless the job is considered to be a government job. Then affirmative action kicks in, might kick in a little bit on the college level. But believe me, if you don't deserve to be in that college, you're not going to be successful in that college because college takes work and it takes having the knowledge and the understanding of the concepts that you're going over in the class. So if you're just thinking that getting a scholarship based upon or being accepted into a school based upon affirmative action is an easy thing, no, it's not. That person has to be able to qualify for it. And it actually is the same thing with any government jobs. But affirmative action is not required at McDonald's. They don't have to have a certain amount of Black people or Hispanic people working there. Affirmative action is not required at most of these manufacturing companies. It's not required. There's no affirmative action when it comes down to teachers. Otherwise, we wouldn't have schools filled with that are majority minority, filled with teachers that don't look like them. So I get tired of hearing the affirmative action BS. So stop that. Because if we didn't have it, because our systems are systematically racist, we wouldn't have a person of color in there at all. That's the truth. And I'm sorry. And the reason why I say this is because, like I said, those people who were out there doing the protesting in Washington, D.C., these are the same people who are your doctors, your lawyers, and they're also the managers that do a lot of the hiring. So if they don't think that much of you just based upon your skin color, what do you think they are going to do when it comes down to actually hiring you? And I hate it that it is that way, but it wouldn't be that way if we started to have conversations. And yes, some of these conversations are going to be ugly because you're going to feel one way and I'm going to feel one way. And the person up the street is going to feel another way. But if we continue to try to say, oh, America's not built on racism, America's not built on this, America's not built on that, bull crap. Yes, we are. It's the ugliness of our culture that we have to talk about. And the more that we continue to ignore it, the bigger the problem is going to remain. Right now, it seems like we're being divided by races and we're being divided by economics. Those are the two things that are dividing us right now. The economics part really is more important than the racial aspect. Because if we were able to come together, all different races, and see what these people are doing to us, how they are holding us hostage, then maybe they wouldn't have the power over us that they have. But because we continue to swallow and fuss amongst each other and argue over Confederate flags and argue over this and argue over that, we are where we are. But the bottom line is that systematic racism exists. And when people of color are talking, let me take that back. The majority of people of color, when we're talking about things online, we are talking about systematic racism. We are not talking about our coworkers. We are not talking about the people who live in our neighborhoods that don't look like us. We are talking about systematic racism. We did not have the 1992 LA riots because of, what's his name? The DA, or not DA, what was he? Not the sheriff, lead sheriff. Gosh, what is his name? I can't even think of his name. Anyway, we did not have issues because he said the N-word. Let me tell you a little secret. Most Black people know that you have said the N-word once or probably more than once in your life. We know that. We know behind closed doors you say it. It's okay. It's when you say it to our faces that the problem comes into play, but that's a whole nother video. So y'all keep on writing that N-word online. It don't bother us. But we had the LA riots in 92 because of the mistreatment and the brutality of the beating of Rodney King by police officers. These people were sent to protect and serve. You cannot ride around on your car with the words protect and serve up there and then sit up here and beat people down. I don't care how drunk Rodney King was. If he was not armed and you had him pretty much under, because it's for y'all, one man, then there's no reason for that. And then they got off. There was no reprimand. There was no punishment. These men were still able to work in the same field. That's the problem. Teachers that are going around and targeting children of color more than the children who look like them, and children of color being suspended on a higher rate than other children. The fact that children of color are represented and made to feel like they are older than what they are, when mentally they have the same capacity as other children. There was one post in a teacher group that we have on Facebook, that they said that they don't want their child talking about what happened because they don't want their child exposed to that type of violence or rhetoric. Must be nice that you don't want to have that type of talk with your child. I've been putting it in my son's head and my daughter's head since the time they were able to probably walk. Don't put your hands in your pocket when you go in the store. If a police officer asks you a question, don't get riled up. Tell them your name and your address. Show them your ID. Don't even have your ID in your glove compartment. Keep your ID somewhere where you can reach for it and they can see you as you reach for it. Or better yet, have them get it. Ask them if you can step out of the car. They can put you in handcuffs. You get it, because at least you will have your life. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But there's systematic racism everywhere. Housing. Most of the bubble that came in 2008 were from predatory lending companies that were targeting people of color and giving them loans that they really, really, really couldn't afford, and other low income people. I mean, it's everywhere. And we have to begin to have conversations so that we can understand that we are more alike than we are different. We really are. We are more alike than we are different. I'm a Black girl. I love anime. I love cosplay. I love bluegrass, country music. I call Mike Pence my baby daddy. So, and I'm in an interracial relationship. First one ever after being married to a Black man for many, many years. So what we're doing is we're letting our differences control what's going on out in our world. And while we're fighting each other, the leader out here doing what they want to do because they know you're distracted. You're distracted. And so my challenge for you is to, if you have a question about something, ask someone. And for the people, my people of color, my brothers and my sisters out there, don't get offended. If if a white person comes up to you and asks you, why is it that saying a Black person eats watermelon is offensive? You do not catch an attitude, you educate. Because that is the only way they're going to learn. And it's the same thing with white people. If someone comes up to you and say, why do y'all do that? Educate them. Why is the Confederacy so important to you? Educate them. And then let's meet in the middle. Maybe Confederate statues belong in a museum. I am not for erasing history, but maybe they belong in a museum. Maybe they don't need to be somewhere where it is a constant reminder of our past. Even though we got to deal with our past, there are better ways to suit where we can meet in the middle. Because it's like a relationship. It's about compromise. That's how America has to be. We have to compromise. That's why they can't get crap done up there in Washington, because they're not willing to compromise. Everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to have this energy bill up there, or everybody wants to have this gun law up there. We have to compromise, because you're not here on this planet by yourself. There are billions of people here too. And the majority of them do not look like you. But anyway, guys, like I said, I just wanted to come up here and just talk to you guys, let you know, let my white friends and followers know, Black people aren't going to hurt you. Hispanic people aren't going to hurt you. Asian people aren't going to hurt you. We aren't studying you on that level. We don't want to tear down white people. We don't want to tear down whatever kind of culture you guys decide that you have. We don't want to tear that down. Hey, I party with everybody. But we don't want to tear that down. We just want the systematic racist institutions tore down that were built before you were even born, that are operating on the same premises as they did before you were born. So that is what we are fighting for. So if you see something kind of shady on your timeline, know this: it is not about the individual. It is about, unless they're putting up there something like an orange Cheeto about Donald Trump, or you see me throw something up there about Alzheimer's for Joe Biden, then we're talking about them, or I am anyway, because I'm petty. But, for the most part, it's not you. And as long as you're not doing racist things, you don't have anything to worry about. It's when you start doing racist things that you have a problem. And like I said, a lot of people hide behind the little avatars online and say the N-word and say all these other little mean, malicious things. And guess what? Don't nobody care. What you gonna do? Now, you come up here in my face and say that, it might be a little bit different. You might be asking your mama what she gonna put you in when you go down in the ground. But as far as putting that crap online, y'all just doing that because y'all think it's shock value. Really, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I mean, so like I said, challenge you guys. You don't understand something about another person of color or another culture, ask them. Don't sit up here and just assume. Ask. We got to start opening up the dialogue if we ever want this world to change. We can't keep sitting up here in this bubble under this facade of, oh, everything is hunky-dory and America's the best. BS. We've got to start having conversations. If we ever want to get past this racism and we want to tear down these institutions, we have to make people aware of them, people of color, because some people really are not aware of them. And we also have to start opening up that dialogue and allowing people to feel comfortable enough to come to us to ask us, why do you do this? Or why do you do that? Why is this offensive? Because once you tell someone that about the Reconstruction period and why saying that Black people eating watermelon like that is offensive, then they begin to understand, because guess what? They don't teach a lot of history in school, unfortunately. Then they'll understand and it won't happen again. But if you keep sitting up here and we're not talking about it, things are going to get much, much worse. So, guys, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you don't, oh well. And I'll see you in the next video. And if you comment down below, please make sure you keep your comments clean. Have your opinion. Don't violate anyone who has an opinion. We all have them. So, guys, have a good night.